Alright guys, this is Jay and this is a video about transmorphology. So this is a basic video about prophet stuff. Transmorphology. I'm a prophet of God. That means that my face literally changes shapes based on the angel that's inside of me, or the volume of my voice might change. I might become much bigger. Who knows? It all depends on important circumstantial information as necessary to portray to each of you. Here's the reality. The reality is that I am a 7.5 foot tall man with wings in the body of a 32-year-old who's about 5'9". My voice is actually about an octave lower. Sometimes it comes out. Big, scary, booming voice monster. Okay? I am an angel. Now, the way this works, because people in the Western world believe in science and they don't believe in God, and they think that they're smarter than the invisible people who are always watching them. Those are called angels and God. Angels, UFOs and stuff like that, UFOs exist. They're called ghouls. That's the technical term. They're people born in the lake of fire, and they go and they meet this archangel whose name is Mephisto, Satan. You know him as Satan, but Mephisto is the angel. That's his holy name. Satan technically represents more of a billet, more of a position, a stance that he takes. When his name is Satan, he's going to be killing, stealing, and destroying, and tempting people to do evil. When he's Mephisto, he's more of a scientist, and he's more of a manager. He's more of a manager, kind of, sort of an investigative manager in heaven, and he makes sure everything goes correctly. He's technically the head. He's absolutely important. Anyway, he's the head of the throne of God. So when you hear about God the Father sitting on the throne, it's actually an angel named Mephisto. Jesus is usually off in some totally unrelated place doing whatever he wants to do, hanging out at the beach or something. Jesus is like on vacation all the time. All the angels do Jesus's job. Jesus is the king, but his kingdom is a little bit more egalitarian than you may know. Anyway, let's talk about transmorphics. I am an angel. That means quite literally, in this moment, I am what's called a transmorph. A transmorph is a shapeshifter. Now, one thing that you're probably, those of you who really know me, you would know that I used to be a little bit more pure and my facial expressions weren't quite like this, and I was a little bit more pointy and agile looking. I have angels that angels will come into my body, and they'll be my face every now and then. Sometimes they're girls, sometimes they're guys. The Greek goddess Nike comes in a lot. She does a lot of work. She looks like Carly Kloss and Taylor Momsen. So if you go on Google and you type in Taylor Momsen or Carly Kloss, or you type in Amanda Seyfried, she looks like that. That's what Nike looks like. She's this blonde. She's this kind of sprightly blonde angel. Athena is another big one. Athena comes through. She's really goddess of war. If you've ever played the video game Dawn of War, you know who Athena is. She's like every Farseer. She's like Idranel and who's that other one? All the female Farseers. That's Athena, the redheaded chick with the blonde ponytail. I have arrived. A bunch of weird stuff. Who knows? Nobody knows who that person is. So anyway, my voice will literally change depending upon whoever's inside my body, and my mood and my everything will change. Angels come and go inside of me. And there's these things called transmorphics, transmorphology. Transmorphology is the basics of prophecy. Heaven is filled with angels. And angels are actually very sci-fi. They're very smart, very intelligent. There's a lot of astrophysics, there's a lot of mathematics. If you look at the stars, that's what they are. Now, we as humans, we're not used to the idea that somebody would be a star. If you're a star, you're a big ball of fusion energy that just sits there forever, right? The Bible often refers to angels as stars. And in the course of forever, it makes more sense. Now, they're not always going to be a star. Maybe you want to go do something. Maybe you want to sprout wings and fly around and teleport. Angels are 2 million units big. In other words, a unit is a specter. The specter is the basic unit of heaven. A specter is a 1 unit size God. It's a miniature God. Miniature God, 1 unit in size, about 4 feet in diameter. And it's a ball. It's just like an orb of God's power, and it's sentient, and it floats around like a poltergeist. It's a miniature God. That's called a specter. They create stuff out of thin air. They can levitate things. They can teleport light years at a time. That's a specter. That is 1 unit. An angel is like a specter, but it's 2 million units big. It's roughly the size of a galaxy. Actually, it's roughly the size of a star. And it can expand and contract, and there's an entire science to it. The science of Enochian energy is very vast and very important. That is one of the most important things you'll be learning when you go to heaven. So when you go to heaven, you're going to actually learn about the science of God's power. So, in the same way you don't give children guns and fire and explosives, God does not give human beings his power. God does not give human beings spectral power, Enochian energy. He does not do that. Telepathy. So if I go like this with my hand and then I start levitating, this pair of sunglasses around, that would be an example of Enochian energy. Now, when Jesus walked around, Jesus is the creator of the universe. He technically has infinity Enochian energy. I am a cherub, which means sometimes I will have infinity, and other times I will have 2 million plus whatever my Pelagius has. A Pelagius is basically a formation of angels. As an archangel, the Pelagius is all of the people that are underneath me. An archangel, king angel. It's basically a king. I am a king. I am an archangel. Because I'm a Christian and not a sinner, I receive the greatest reward that heaven has. That means I have worked my butt off, and I am the highest caste that exists in heaven. So let's talk about transmorphology for a minute, because that's what this video is about. An angel is going to be in charge of galaxies. Can you believe that? Galaxies. One angel will be in charge of galaxies. One, as if one isn't enough already. As an archangel, I will be in charge of angels. That means galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. However ambitious I feel like being. So, when an angel wants to perform maintenance on a galaxy, they have what's called transmorphic ailments. There is an archangel, a seraph to be exact. The word seraphim, we're not going to use that word, that's complicated. Seraphim is different from archangel. Just use the word archangel, king angel. Archangel Uriel is, you might actually recognize him, he's everywhere. He's this archetype that you see in pop culture of like a crazy doctor. mad doctor with like big thick Nazi glasses and a bald head. That's Uriel. He's basically second in command to God. He's everywhere. And Uriel is actually the inventor of the human body. He's an angel who invented the human body. Yeah, this is Uriel's creation. And there's a lot more than that. He also invented the angel body, sort of. I think Sayaltiel kind of chipped in a little bit. But for the most part, when you get sick, so when you get coronavirus, or when you get the common cold, or if you get acne on your face, that means that there is a problem in your immediate system. And believe it or not, that means there is sin. You get sick because of sin. Let me explain. Somebody didn't clean. Somebody didn't wash their hands. Somebody allowed a pathogen into the system. Somebody sinned. Somebody took the Lord's name in vain. Somebody was stealing. Somebody smuggled something in they weren't supposed to. Somebody did something they weren't supposed to. And now sin has entered the system. And so because you touch a doorknob and then you rub your eyes and then suddenly your eye has conjunctivitis, that is because there is sin in the system. So when an angel gets sick, it's more or less the same thing. It's usually not sin, though. It's usually evil. So evil is not quite what humans think it is. Humans think evil is like a really taboo, bad word. Evil is as simple as scraping your nails on a chalkboard. That's evil. Somebody who repeats themselves way too much. Unholiness. Evil. Impurity. Evil is simply impurity. So if an angel gets a pimple right here, why did it just turn like bright red? That's weird. The camera's a little weird. So if an angel gets a pimple like right here, I don't have a pimple there, but let's just say an angel does. That means that this particular sector of the galaxy has a pus issue, which means that there is a systematic discharge that needs to take place. And the immunoreaction, the pre-programmed immunoreaction of that part of the body. So that's what it means. If an angel gets sick, it means that part of their system is defunct, is broken. If an angel is sick, it's because that part of their galaxy or their domain or their dominion is suffering from traces of evil. So, as an angel, as a prophet, I am actually exuding some of these ailments right now. I am very symbolic. First of all, I literally can't do anything. I'm more or less possessed. There's a lot of science that goes into this. Transmorphology is an extraordinarily complicated system of science. Every single person has to learn transmorphology to get into heaven. I know it's not in the Bible. It's because there's a very small verse in there. It says, everyone will be taught by God. John chapter 6, verse 45. Everyone will be taught by God. John 6, verse 644. You cannot come to Jesus except by the Father who draws him. That means you literally cannot get into God's kingdom until you're born again. That's John chapter 3 when he's talking to Nicodemus. You cannot enter heaven without God's permission. You cannot go to heaven without God's help. You cannot go to heaven without God's permission. God, 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 God. God is the only way to get into God's kingdom. Capiche? You can't just walk into God's kingdom. Not allowed. Only perfect people go there. And the only way to be perfect is to get God's help. God is infinite. God is majestic. He has the power, he has the ability to turn you into something perfect and beautiful. If you are eternally damned, you can still get into sanctification. You are what's called a sinner. There are two kinds of sinners. There's blameless and there's wicked. Technically, you're wicked. If you are wicked, you're going to have a number of coals on your soul, on your name. And you have to pay those coals off if you ever want to be looked at like any kind of trust whatsoever. Essentially, what you are is somebody who is a betrayer. You are somebody who betrays. So if you have coals on your head, your credit score is absolutely low. You're eternally damned, and no one's going to trust you until you pay off your credit score, until you pay off your debt. No one's going to trust you with anything. You're a betrayer and nothing more. That's eternal damnation. I am not eternally damned. I am actually the Holy of Holies. You probably wouldn't know that by looking at me because my voice is a little raspy and my body, I'm a little bit out of shape, and my face is a little bit dumb. My face is a little dumb looking. I'm a prophet. I'm actually a shapeshifter. I'm what's called a transmorph. This is new to me. Okay, this happened about back in this happened back in May, I think. Yeah, I had Uriel come down and tell me. I had an angel visit me and tell me that I'm a transmorph now. So what that means is I'm literally an angel. Now, there's a lot of science that goes into becoming an angel. You don't just snap, as much as God wants to, as much as he would love to just snap his finger and then everything is perfect, he cannot change you. You have to change you. And there's a lot of training that goes into that. And if God just snapped his finger, you wouldn't have any free will. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into God's kingdom. Okay? All of existence was built by angels. It wasn't built by God. Can you believe that? Existence was built by angels. Now, if you read the book of Genesis, it'll say something like, let us go down and make mankind in our image. That was God. That was essentially what's called the Godhead. It's God and all of his bros, all of the archangels, me included. I wasn't there back then. I'm a new guy. I'm pretty cool, but I'm as cool as they are. But they invented existence. They invented mankind. They invented pretty much everything. It's this round table, the gods. So when you look at the Greek gods, you've got Azrael, Uriel, Nike, Athena, Kali, Salathiel, Sialtiel, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, two more, Hades, and Lucifer, and Isaiah. There's a bunch of them. At this point, there's 144 seraphim. There's 144 seraphim. It's like Abaddon, Enoch, Lucifer, Mephisto, me, Athena, all men. There's actually 288 seraphim if you count all of their wives and girlfriends. So like Athena is one of them. Athena is my guardian angel. Athena is actually she's the empress in heaven. Athena, Greek goddess Athena. That's a complicated subject. Anyway, let's talk about transmorphics for a minute. So right now, what you're looking at, so I'm looking at myself on camera here. I'm looking at myself as I talk to this camera. Here's the camera and here's my computer monitor. What you're looking at is somebody who is a little overweight. You know, I'm a little overweight now. This is called vacation. That's called vacation. This is a lot of things. This is symbolic of everything going on in heaven. So if you walk up to an angel and you say, why is Jay overweight? I was a gymnast. I was 155 pounds with I still have broad shoulders, but I didn't have the deltoids that I used to have. I used to be a gymnast with serious deltoids. Let me see here. You know, I'm kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like I've got this layer of fat on top of my gymnast muscles. Anyway, I'm on vacation, and there's this. Well, I'm stuttering right now because I can't. Okay, so that's another thing. There's a component called the will. The will is simply so right now this is somebody else doing the talking. I am somebody else doing the talking. This is an angel talking with my voice. But what I'm doing is I'm using the will. I'm simply, if you simply imagine asking like telepathy, say, raise your right hand. Lower your fourth finger. Right? It's not like I'm piloting my hand. It's more like I'm simply asking somebody else to pilot my body. Does that make sense? So, that's called the will. It's as if you're remote controlling your body from inside of your body. It means God is the one who's actually operating your body, but I am the one who is asking God to do certain things. So my hand might have a mind of its own. I'd say, pick up this water bottle, and then it just reaches behind me, grabs it like this, and I'm holding a water bottle. That's called the will. So when you become an angel, or you become a prophet, you have what's called the will. And the will is this telepathic thing, and sometimes there are so many angels, so many people, so many specters, so many invisible people looking at you, that the only thing you can do to communicate with all of them is to say, this is what I want. And so I'm going to will myself to the end of this video. Complete this video. And these invisible people are going to start speaking through my mouth right now. And at any given moment in this video, I could be a number of people, ranging from Athena to Nike to Abaddon to Azrael to Jesus to any number of seraphim. Usually seraphim, because I'm a seraph, so I'm going to be hanging out with seraphs. Just use the word archangel for now. There's a whole realm of cherubim ranks. It's like chariots and virtues and powers and sovereignties and elected officials. There's things all over the place. Seraphim is like the highest, but it's also not. And there's chief princes and seraphim and candlesticks, and there's a bunch of weird stuff. Archangel. So let's look at me for a little bit. I got a little bit of this I got a little bit of a jowl. Overall, I'm a little overweight because I represent the average of the body of Megatron. Now, let me explain to you why this is valid. I literally can't exercise. Like, there are certain things that my body does with or without my permission, and I could be speaking in sign language this whole time and not have a clue what any of that means because an angel is doing the talking. And I sometimes have control over my mouth. It's like I have 20 Siamese twins in my body, and we're learning how to communicate with each other and coordinate in a perfect synchronicity. When I go outside and I exercise, some of those angels say, no, I don't approve. And so there will be this nasty voice that will be talking inside of me that is not happy. And it's imposing. It means I literally can't exercise without this really horrible despair. So I used to be an archangel. I used to be a gymnast. I was in the military, and I was a gymnast, and I was a black belt. Exercise was not a problem for me. Okay? It was my way of life. It's the only thing I was used to. I would go out and I would exercise, and God has slowed me down and turned me into somebody with a stupid face slightly overweight, raspy voice, unholy, and there's a bunch of invisible things in here. So there's transmorphics, and that's what that is. Let's talk about a little bit more specifics on transmorphics. Let's talk about replicoids. A replicoid is an invisible piece of alien technology. Angel. There are no aliens, just angels. Okay? Alien technology is this invisible thing. So inside of my angel body, right now, I actually have an angel body with wings. It's a very large wingspan. It's like 28 feet or so. I don't know the exact specifics of it. About 8 feet tall, about 7.5 feet tall, and very large wingspan. And if you talk to God and you say, "Can I see what Jay's angel face looks like?" he might actually show you. And it's a very scary, giant, sadistic monster. It's a human, but it doesn't look like this guy. It vaguely resembles this. Angels are big. Their head, imagine a horse. A horse's head is like this big. It's like this big. That's pretty much what an angel's head is like. An angel's head is roughly the size of a horse. Horses have a longer snout, but angels, the girth of the head, that's about the size of an angel's head. Huge. Big face. Probably about this big. An angel's head is it's like this big. They're really big, and they're really scary. And if you see my angel body in the Holy Spirit, it's going to have this really... there might be some really evil stuff, like you'll see weird like snail shells for eyeballs and stuff like that, like really evil stuff. Essentially, in heaven, I've got an angel body, and it's on like a table, like a lab table, and it's being grown. And it started off as this really evil fourth dimensional... When I say evil, I mean like not conducive to reality. Like things, matter phasing in and out of itself in fractal patterns that make no sense. Like evil kind of stuff. So there's this four-dimensional object on a table, and it's a body. And it's got wings, and it's about 8 feet tall. But it looked like Carnage from Spider-Man. Sometimes it looked like Spider-Man, other times it looks like Carnage, and it's always shape-shifting. And there's these cables. What Uriel was doing is he was operating on it. He's operating on it, and there's these cables coming out of my body, metal cables, coming out of the fourth dimension, which means they're infinity miles long. They just keep going. And Uriel barely even knows. He can figure it out if he uses some programs, but the science is very complicated. He is operating on my body, on my angel body. And it started off as this really strange, evil, fourth-dimensional object filled with bags of crabs, moles on the inside of the torso, like mole, like this. See this little mole here? Like those kind of moles on the inside of my angel torso. Really weird, evil stuff like that. Hair growing in strange places, like hair growing in the inside of my chest cavity. Weird stuff. It started off, my angel leg had like 7 different, it split off, and it had 7 duplicate legs. All of this is basically symbolic, which means that in heaven, so right now, we live on planet Terra. I know you think this is called Earth. The angels call it Terra, because Earth is actually a flat world with 4 corners in another dimension, where Earth is actually a place called Pandemonium, and it's filled with unicorns and centaurs. That's a completely different place. Believe it or not, whenever the Bible talks about Earth, it's talking about a completely different place. We live on a planet called Terra. We thought it was called Earth. That's not what it's called. Um, there's all these invisible angel governments over this planet. Satan is Mephisto is the first one. Satan is the reason that you don't have any special powers. Satan is the one who prevents you from going anywhere. Mephisto. That's the first layer. Then you have all these guardian angels, and you have all these like people who are watching over you, all these spirits and stuff. And they have a guy above him. His name is Hades. Hades prevents all of them from doing stupid shit as well. They have rules. My God, do they have rules. In fact, sometimes there are so many rules that the only thing you can do is communicate with the will, and then someone else will navigate you through the infinity of rules. You see, your hand will lift when it's time to lift. You'll open the door because you have permission to open the door, and no one is going to be offended if you do so. That is the will. That is what happens when you go to very complicated places in heaven, is you operate based on the will. So all of these angel governments right now, all of these angel governments are watching, and they're imposing rules. And these angels are in heaven, and these are in a strange, evil, administrative kind of place. And they're all laughing, and they're insane, and they're mean. But this angel that is speaking to you right now is from a happy place that's a little more peaceful. J, Thios, multiple names. My name is J. The person that the body you're looking at, we generally refer to as J. Well, right now we call it Thios. My name is Thios. There is J, Thios, Megathron, Thyatira, Pandemonium, and actually Dub Sigma. And then there's also a Kremlin Pandemonium. So I've got a bunch of names. I have a kingdom. I designed a cool language with a bunch of symbols and stuff like that. I plan on doing a lot of very fun things when I go to heaven. Yeah, I'm going to have a kingdom, and it's going to be like StarCraft. Like almost literally, if you played the game StarCraft, that's kind of what we're going to be doing. It's like sci-fi, aliens and angels and plasma rifles and big tanks and laser guns. It's a lot of fun. In heaven, you're immortal, so it doesn't matter what you do. You can go shoot each other, you come back to life. It's great. Anyway, all of these angel governments right now, they're all watching. And there's a lot of programs. There's a lot of automation. There's a lot of invisible robots. Can you believe that? Invisible robots with no bodies. Just imagine a computer program, but it's called the Lord of Hosts. God. There's this thing, it's called the Lord of Hosts. And if it ever speaks to you, it's a little creepy. It's creepy, and it's basically Jesus, but it's this robot that everybody is always, angels everywhere across infinities of angels everywhere are updating this Lord of Hosts. They're programming it. They're tweaking it. They're making small adjustments. Okay, that was a transmorphic ailment. I just got chills because that represents a god. There's a blasphemer over here who acts that way. And that represents him shrugging off evil of his reputation or something like that. So that's that. I have to go to the bathroom now. All of a sudden I have to go to the bathroom now, which represents. So there's all this weird stuff inside of me, and it gets suppressed. Certain angels suppress certain things. There's these things called replicoids. They're kind of gross and they're kind of evil, but if you imagine a fetus. And it's like this, and it's like attached to certain parts of my body. So the right half represents good, and the left half represents evil. Left hand is evil, right hand is good. Left eye is evil, right eye is good. So all of this is representative of everything. And let's see. So if I have a fetus that has an umbilical attached to my right nipple that would mean that my good, that would mean the part of my galaxy, the part of my empire as an archangel responsible for, so like the right hand is essentially the efficacy. It represents, it's really complicated. And you have to kind of, it seems a little subjective and you have to kind of piece it together, but that's how it works. So it's like the right hand represents efficacy and making sure things come into being and things get done. And the right arm represents the facets and the logistics in how that comes into being. The connective programs, the body of Christ, the organization, all that kinds of stuff. The pectoral represents how this, the torso represents actually the common people. So the common people are the torso. So if you've got a pectoral muscle, how the arm connects to the pectoral muscle is because the upper class citizens are paying for the efficacy of the kingdom on the right hand to come into being. So if there is a fetus with an umbilical attached to my right pec, it means that there is a new body that is being fed. It's a little evil, and that's kind of the point. There's a new archangel or a new project, a new empire that's being umbilical fed from this part of my society. Does that make sense? So it gets a little weird. That's an example of a transmorphic ailment. I had like 7 legs. My angel body had like 7 legs, like this. And so I've got, that means that my right leg, all of the good mobility is doppelgangered and has too much redundancy, too many duplicates. So I had 7 right legs and stuff like that, weird stuff like that. So as this happens, there's all these invisible governors, all these invisible governments, and there's so many angels and there's so many programs that literally the only thing you can do is sit there and just wait for the angels to teach you what all this means and to will your way from one thing to the next. So like if I want to get groceries, I have to literally, like sometimes I'll just be bedridden. I'll be bedridden because there's this spirit that's just like, no. Like, it's not happening, go to bed. And so I will sit there in bed, and it's almost like being possessed, but it's not possessed by demons. It's possessed by essentially robotic protocols. So I'm kind of like a cyborg. It's really complex. That's how it works. So let's talk about being a prophet for a minute. If I walk into a certain church, there are actually invisible entities, Lord Ents and governors, specter governors, and usually some kind of angel that's in charge of that church. And I'll walk in, and then my face will usually turn into that angel. So like, it's not like a regular angel. In most cases, it's a body of Christ. It's what's called a replicon of Jesus. So there's this replicon of Jesus, and let's say the church is really ignorant and uneducated. Parts of the brain will be completely rotted or inactive, just completely dormant, not even functioning. So I'll walk into a church and I'll get really stupid. Or I'll walk into a church. Here's one. I walked into a Baptist church once and I felt like I was being choked. And that has to do with Beelzebul. Beelzebul is basically forcing this church to comply. So this is being a prophet. And so if I walk into this church over here, I'll have like this eye will be like literally parts of my brain will get damaged, and then this eye will be like crooked, I get severely screwed up. I get really gross looking sometimes. This eye will be kind of screwed up and like slightly askew so that my eyes don't look pretty. It looks like there's something kind of wrong. My eyes aren't really holy right now. This is like a right now. I'm currently what you're looking at is like a tentative fixture. It's like a covering on a light like it's let's see here. You see those lights? This light fixture prevents you from seeing the light bulb, and the light bulb is just kind of ugly and not very attractive. That's kind of what you're seeing right now. What you're seeing right now on me is kind of the same thing. It's just sort of a covering so that I can be a little more presentable, because you guys don't know what any of this means. So I want to show you something. I wear all this stuff. I wear a mask. I wear this. I wear glasses. I wear a hat. And I put on this particular jacket. I've got a couple others that I wear, but I literally go out in public like this. So if you ever meet me as a prophet, this is what I look like, because there are a number of very unsightly things that happen. I'll be walking and then I'll give, this is mostly for your sake, because you don't understand what you're looking at. So when I dress this way, I am actually more attractive, first of all, when I cover up. And I'm also more true. Let's see. Let's see if I can change my voice now. Yeah. My voice is really, really bad. So I can activate my transmorphic ailments whenever I want to, but it's really bad. My voice is like hoarse and in hell. So I have this really big angel voice, but right now it's like scorched and it's healing. So if you ever hear like big monsters talking, big deep voice, that's kind of what I'm like as an angel. But I've got this I've also got these exaggerated, why do I keep talking like this? Like I just have these impulses that I can barely control any of them. It's all unholy shit. So when I talk to you, there's a lot of stuff that you see, and there's a lot of expectations that you have for what I'm supposed to be. And that's not what I am. What I have told you is that I'm actually an angel. I'm an angel in training, and as you can tell, there's a lot of science that goes into this. So as I sit here and I teach the basics of prophecy and angelic transmorphology, I am becoming an angel and I am learning the basics, and I am also growing spiritually, mostly. But I'm growing in my knowledge and my wisdom, and I'm growing in my competence as a prophet. Let's see here. So, who you're looking at, the reason I wear these masks is because, quite literally, you will see me much more clearly if I cover up than if I were to take these covers off. When you actually start to see me, you will start to see somebody who's a little bit more defined and a little bit more interesting, masculine and assertive. And when I take all this stuff off, what you start to see is this kind of caricature of a redneck or something. Like whatever the heck is going on in your mind, and this colloquial jackass. Colloquial jackass uses a lot of slang and has these stupid faces like this. So I've got a lot of stuff that happens to me involuntarily because everything that I am is symbolic to all of the angels that are watching. So my raspy voice, my super high voice that I have, it's really annoying. That's for you guys because you guys are so scared of angels. Bet you didn't know that. I bet you guys didn't know that you guys are terrified of angels. Angels are terrifying. Compare if you've ever met a man who's a warrior, just with a sword, man, how do you hang out with that guy without him killing you? How do you just hang out with that guy without him trying to kill you? Okay, that's step one. Now let's talk about angels. Imagine a whale. You're in the middle of the ocean, you're swimming, and there's this giant whale. Okay, but it's not a whale, it's an angel. And it's this giant ball of eyeballs. Okay, that's what it's like. Go on Google. I'll show you right now. I'll actually show you right now. Seraphim. Scariest thing you'll ever see is an angel. Okay, let's talk about this right here. Look at this. That's what an angel looks like. Gigantic monster. That is the scariest thing in heaven. These are the scariest things you'll ever experience in heaven. These are gigantic floating. Here's a person, and here's a gigantic chariot. This is called a chariot. So here's some cool stuff. Here's some interesting factoids about what's going on. If you go to hell, if you're particularly mean, if you're a bully, God doesn't necessarily torture you. He's got this place called the Lake of Fire. It's basically it's a nursery. It's always warm. You don't have to burn. You can actually climb out of the fire. But you're in this cave, and there's a lot of fire, and it's really hot, and there's people everywhere all the time. You're never alone. You're never alone, and it's always warm. Okay? That's the Lake of Fire. And if you have any questions, just ask. There's people everywhere answering questions. It's also miserable as hell and really boring. It's incredibly boring, and it's not designed to be fun. Now, if you're particularly mean, God will send you to one of these angels, one of these seraphim. That means he will literally have this giant floating monster floating in the middle of the clouds, and God will pick you up. Actually, one of these will pick you up. They'll pick you up and just, like a little action figure, they'll just bring you up to their face like that. And the eyeball is like this big, and there's this big noise they have. It's like whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. Really big, scary noise. It like reverberates through your entire body. If you've ever played the video game Descent 2, and you listen to the noises that the bosses make, that's what seraphim, that's what chariots sound like. They're crazy monsters from another dimension. And that is pretty much the scariest thing that will ever happen to you, is that God forces you to go hang out with a chariot. That's the scariest thing. They're the scariest, but absolutely terrifying. It's kind of like being raped by a bull or something. Like, it's kind of the same feeling you get, like just like, like don't do it. Anyway, it's pretty miserable. Yeah. So who I am is actually an angel. Man. Oh, that thing. Okay. Okay, I've got some weird scalp feelings. I think that's it. This video was an hour long. Uriel. You're going to be learning about Uriel profusely. He's going to force you to learn every part of the brain. He's going to force you to learn all sorts of strange parts of your body. You're going to learn about lymph nodes, maxillary sinuses, everything. You're going to learn all about the body. Here's something crazy. When you're an angel, you're going to be this big animal. Literally, when you go to heaven, you start acting like an animal. You're a super sentient animal, but you're still more of an animal than you are just a person. You have these savage tendencies. You get angry at people because they're violating your caste. You have these instincts that are new and they're from God. There's a lot of weird stuff, but angels are a lot like creatures. They're much more creature-like than they are people. And that's what you do forever. So you kind of get into this character, and if you literally are a creature like a rhinoceros or something, you're going to start acting like a rhinoceros. After weeks of being a rhinoceros, you're going to start to just act like a rhinoceros. It's kind of what happens. So everybody turns into whatever they're being. If you're like a big forest elemental, you're this big talking tree, you're going to start acting like a big talking tree. It's pretty cool. I was just going to talk about something really important, and I totally lost track of it. Yeah, that's a weird thing going on inside of my head all the time. I've got weird sinus transmorphic problems. You're gonna meet a bunch of. I'm gonna just put this on pause for a second and think about what I was trying to say. Okay, yeah. So as you ascend, you're going to learn a lot about Uriel. Uriel. You're gonna be so done with Uriel and Mephisto. Mephisto. You're gonna be so done learning about Uriel and Mephisto. You're gonna want to quit. Mephisto is there to teach you what he does, and that's very important. Essentially, if Mephisto says something and you don't understand what he said, that's exactly. He's going to. That means that the highest point of in the know knowledge is not something that you know. So he'll say weird things like he'll say all kinds of weird stuff. Uriel is in charge of the body, and he has these things called tethers. So like there's this administrative. Uriel is in charge of large projects across all of existence. So if you ever try to understand Uriel, trillions of angels meet in one room and they all become one specter. Not literally, but just like they're all sharing the same space and all their mouths are closed. And they form a body. They form up. And they look at Uriel and they say, okay, I want this, and this. And then everybody starts pouring all of their information into this tether. And this tether is it's like an agenda. It's an administrative addendum. And this tether goes into your body. It goes into your mouth and comes out of comes out of various nipples depending on reasons, or it comes out of your urethra or your anus. So there's this tether and it passes through your body, and everything is absolutely symbolic of. So let me boil this down for you. If you are trying to do data entry for 1 millennia's worth of people, you've got 20 trillion people and you need to do data entry for all 20 trillion of them. It's going to take a long time. So instead, what we do is we have Uriel, and we'll have a transmorphic ailment, and you've got billions of cells and little microscopic things. And each one of those cells represents one person and all of their circumstances. And when all of those cells are operating, so if you want to solve, basically it gets a millennia of work done in 5 minutes. That's why we do it. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in heaven, a lot of stars, a lot of angels, a lot of people, a lot of saints. Oh, I'm going to finish this video off with something fun. It's called demon hunting. Demons are people who are so far removed from God and without excuse that they're no longer under grace whatsoever. They're no longer under God's grace. Demons are evil, but there's usually, you have to work to become a demon. You can't just be an asshole and then be a demon. You have to be interesting, and you have to actually recognize God as sovereign. So they're really kind of fascinating. Demons are one of the most complicated subjects in theology. To explain to you what a demon is to explain to you the end of theology, the most complicated subject of theology. What is an angel? What is a demon? Angels are easy. They're these beings that belong to God, and they're members of God's kingdom, and they're huge, and they're galaxies big. Demons are tiny, 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 tiny. Usually, at most, they're about 4,000 units big if they all contribute into one pot. There are little demon empires everywhere. Little fallen angels who they used to be an angel and they lead entire kingdoms. They're people, but they have since become educated and unnaturalized into God's kingdom. So they're unnaturalized. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And they make hell very interesting. Demons are fun to shoot. They're mean. They're villainous. They're evil. They're fun to kill. They're fun to fight. So when you fight demons, you make money. A lot of times what will happen is you go to an archangel and you say, I want to fight this demon. And then you sign this contract, and then every time you kill a demon, you get about 2%. Yeah, you get 2% of its soul. So if you're only 1 unit big, if you're a pet, if you're the smallest caste in heaven, a pet, load 4, 1 unit big, you're still in the kingdom, but you were a lazy scumbag your entire life, and you volunteered other people to be led to the cross of Jesus Christ. You're probably going to be a pet. If you're somebody who just really doesn't care and did the absolute bare minimum to get into heaven, you're going to be a pet. You're going to be the lowest caste in heaven, 1 unit big. And if you want more units, you can go do demon hunting. And there's a bunch of things you can do. But you hunt the demons, and when you kill them, you get 2% of their energy. So now, if you kill 1 demon, you're now a 1.02 energy unit being for as long as you adhere to the contract assigned to that demon. So for as long as you're with that archangel. And the archangel gets the rest of the units. That's usually how it's handled. You go hunt demons, you get 0.02 units. You get cool little like vials of magic crystals and magic sand and stuff. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. Just get into it. That's all I got. See you later.